Dumb,
Cool.
and weird.
podcast.
So, well, I still went and glad I did. Had a great time up there. Actually, being a photographer, I was on the yearbook staff with John Philo. You know the pictures from Kent State, the shooting?
Yeah.
Especially Allison over the body of that student with the blood flowing.
Yeah.
He won a Pulitzer Prize for that, which
wow.
is a big award in journalism. I was on the yearbook staff with him, and we worked in the photography department as assistants for one of the photography professors. We worked together on that. I learned a lot about photography from him. And in addition to taking pictures for the yearbook, I was taking pictures for student government. And with the anti-war sentiment, they had regular anti-war protests going on campus there. So when they had that, I was out there taking pictures. The funny thing is, when I started doing that, I'd call home back to Florida, and I'd say, "Hey, we saw you on the news." I said, "What do you mean you saw me on the news? You were at that, anti-war protest taking pictures, and they got you on the news." So, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I did not, I wasn't one of the draft card burners. You know about the draft? don't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. They. I was actually going to ask you about that. I was like, how many people did you know who were drafted in?
I know people who took off to Canada, so they weren't drafted. I know a few people that got drafted. A buddy of mine who was also in Civil Air Patrol with me got to be a helicopter pilot,
Okay.
and he spent 2 tours in Vietnam. He volunteered for a second tour,
Yeah.
and he was highly decorated for that. He was a
Yeah.
hero. He went through all kinds of hell, and he's a local hero because of that.
Yeah.
But I know a good deal of people that were Dodge drafters.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's kind of at this point when you look at it though, you're really taking away the choice from people to make to be able to sign their life away on such a big decision. Being forced into that is troublesome. It's like I still hear people say it's like we need to have mandatory service. I'm like, why? Like, why would you want that? That's slavery. I was like,
well, I think it's very, very important for discipline.
I personally look at today's culture and I think about how badly this would affect unit cohesion. Like, if you got somebody who doesn't really want to be there, they're going to make it hell for everybody else. And then they're going to make things worse on themselves because, I mean, once you go through and you're making everybody constantly affected by mass punishment because of your jackassery, because you don't want to be there, you're going to eventually really hate your life when your buddies, the people you're supposed to look up to and get help from, start beating you with bars of soap in a shower.
I don't think there's that much of that.
Not anymore. No, that's why they gave us liquid soap.
But I think a 2-year mandatory military service would be very helpful for self-discipline. I think that's what a lot of kids need anymore. There's not enough self-discipline.
It makes you wonder what would happen with today's kids versus people growing up when you were growing up. Like I could see it being more possible in the 70s and 80s.
Like a gene. What about because Gen Z is like the kids now. I wonder what it would be like for them to have to go and do selective
Serving with Gen Z kids though is they're very highly motivated, and a lot of them really, they didn't grow up with 9/11 like we did, so they had. It's very interesting. They learn about 9/11 in the history books, and versus us growing up with that experience, seeing people, like knowing somebody's dad who went into Iraq, and knowing somebody who graduated high school, going to Afghanistan, and things like that. It's like I remember when Syria popped off. That's why I enlisted, because I was like, okay, something's happening again. I didn't go anywhere, but at the same time, I'm glad I went through the whole process.
Yeah.
Because it made me I think it made me a better person. Because I will say, definitely, like you were saying, it brought me a lot of discipline. Helps me out every day when I'm going to school.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. You could probably identify certain things that you learned that you picked up then that are now, disciplined habits.
It's like it's amazing because you can tell that like in my own life, I think it made me a lot better because it gave me the ability to be very goal oriented.
Yeah.
And that's why I've gotten as far as I have. Like in my first years in college, I was screwing around and not really caring about my grades. So my overall GPA is really low. But every time I go into class, every time I have a semester, I'm getting a 3.5 or 3.0 GPA for that semester.
There you go.
So it's like, yeah, I definitely see it being a big help for some people. But I think some people are just going to be ignorant their whole lives too. And that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, but yeah, back to the Gen Z kids. They're really good kids. I mean, some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them just really are looking for
They need
a
to get
place.
out and live a little bit more, though.
Well, yeah, you know, when they're hopped up on OnlyFans and video games, they don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, so you talked about the college years a little bit. So that was like 70 to 74, right?
Yeah.
So
College years were fun. A little too much fun sometimes. I got involved in way too many things. Gymnastics team, yearbook, student government, various clubs.
But that sounds like a lot of fun and shenanigans that can
yeah,
come
it
along
was.
with that.
Yeah. Some great music. Man, we had some
Yeah.
good groups up there. Man.
maybe it was probably even better than the college experience that me and Nick had together.
Yeah, like were people more adult about things? Because I've noticed when we went to college, people just accelerated what they were like in high school.
No, I think, it was much different then. I noticed that, right away once I got going, even my freshman year. So even, just living in the dorm my freshman year, I mean, it was a lot of fun, but I mean, a lot of the partying, the panty raids and, throwing water down the hall and sliding down the hall in your underwear, all that good stuff. And then, naturally going out and, beer contests and all. But other than that, there was.
Jeez, this sounds like way cooler than even my brother's time in Savannah when he was talking about like how hard they would party. I was like, man, you guys were on a whole new level. You're like on a Marine Corps barracks party level.
Yeah, you guys were just like, it sounds like y'all weren't even trying to party. The party would just happen.
Yeah.
It was just happening quite a bit.
Like when me and Nick were going to school, dude, we tried to find a party, and they'd be like, "Oh no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna just go home and sleep." It wasn't anything. It was never anything
Or,
like that.
hey guys, who wants to come over and play video games for hours?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of dudes playing video games in one room, and it's like,
Oh,
it's
so
like,
exciting.
and it's just like, let's go streaking, and I was like, no, that's illegal. Let's just do drugs here.
What? We did that.
Right?
Yeah, you do a big group. And what are they going to do? With, a big group. We've had the police, watching, in case, somebody gets out of hand. But everybody just does the streak thing and get dressed, and you're going.
Well, to be
before anything
fair,
happens.
a lot of the ladies we had were not exactly like the finest either.
Well, I mean, they were hanging out with dudes who play video games.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you're just lucky if you get a woman.
That's bad. So you didn't have, panty raids and all?
We kind of refrained from doing that because we didn't want sexual harassment charges.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that happens these days when you do stuff like that.
That is so bad. See, that's what happens when you get, lawyers involved and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Somebody's too easily offended. And,
I will say,
there's
Scott, I
lawsuits.
told him a really funny college story, like the last podcast we had. It's one where basically I went to one of those parties he was talking about where they were playing video games, and I ended up sleeping with two girls at the same time, and
Nice.
and they both had boyfriends that were there playing the video games.
Dude,
Priorities.
I went to a party, and I was in a hot tub, and I was making out with two chicks. I was like, at that point in my life, I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get here? Because I was like I went from being like, the fat out of shape kid to being like the sort of in shape, sort of out of shape guy.
What, the hot tub on campus?
No, this was in high school.
Oh.
My buddy had a hot
right.
tub in his backyard, and we're just hanging out. And I brought two women for three guys, and then all of a sudden, I'm making out with both of them.
Nice. Very nice.
To be fair, though, most parties were a sausage fest. Was the ratio at least in your favor?
Yeah. We had a lot of those too. You know, we'd organize a party, put out the word, and you invite like 80% chicks and then a few of your buddies, and you end up with 90% guys and a couple, girls. Like, jeez. But
Yeah, I like the parties when it's like a 50-50 ratio.
yeah.
You show up to the house, you're like, yes, god damn it. If you want to check out more of our stuff, go to www.dumbcoolweird.com. You'll find our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon link if you want to support us. Also, be sure to check out our merch store. And if you're interested in being on our podcast, you can find a link on our website so you can reach out to us and tell us if you want to talk to us about something that's really weird, dumb, or cool. We'd be glad to hear from you. Hope you will stay tuned for the next weird ass episodes we got. Thank you.